Some of us at the state party spent some time last year trying to figure out how we're going to get Mitt Romney to pick Chuck Grassley as his running mate, because we knew that kind of a ticket would win nationwide. Well, our featured speaker tonight, our keynote speaker tonight, it's not his first trip to Iowa, and it's not his first time keynoting a Republican Party of Iowa event. In 2011, after he was first elected to the United States Senate, the Republican Party of Iowa extended an invitation under Chairman Strawn to Senator Paul to keynote the Night of the Rising Stars. And I remember at that event, Senator Paul really eloquently reminded all of us that if this party does not imbue values, then it's an empty vessel. And I think that's something that is so true. We as Republicans have to imbue those values. And when we look at things like the Second Amendment and we see Rand standing on the Second Amendment, or we look at a Sanctity of Life Amendment being introduced in the United States Senate by Senator Paul. I know that Republicans stand with Rand when he does that also. And when he stood for 13 hours on the floor of the United States Senate to try to get a simple answer from the president over whether or not he has the authority to kill an American citizen on American soil with a drone who's not an imminent threat, we stood with Rand. And across this country, people stood with Rand. I saw Facebook fire up, Twitter fired up, and days later, we decided to extend an invitation for Senator Paul to keynote this dinner. So please join me in welcoming Senator Rand Paul of Kentucky.
Conservative, but I didn't know how funny he is. I tell you, he's probably got another career, doing stand-up comedian, the boot, and Moines. What do you think? I grew up in a small town, and I flunked kindergarten. They said I didn't crawl inside the lines. That's what my brothers and sisters said. But I think the birthdays changed when we moved. I graduated twice. But I rode my bike to school from kindergarten through 8th grade. I rode my bike to baseball practice, swimming, football, basketball, and it was great. It was living in a small town. I still can remember playing for hours, wiffle ball, home run derby, hitting it over the electrical power line. I tell you all that to know that living in a small town, I think you get to know a little bit about people, and in your town you know who the good people are, the bad people, who the people behave, who the people who don't behave. Most of the time I was in the behave category. But I say that to tell you that I think in a small town, sometimes you can be a judge of who good people are. And the one thing I can tell you from getting to know your senator and Mrs. Grassley is they are the good people. Thank you very much, Senator. I was in New York the other day. We're driving down the road and we come up to the Federal Reserve. The police, this is an easy crowd, all right? The police are everywhere. The road is blocked and we're sitting there for hours. So we get out of the car and we go up and we ask the policeman what have happened. They said the Federal Reserve has been robbed. And we said, really? And they said, yeah, but they caught the thieves. They got in front of the safe. They had the big safe open, but they were perplexed. They were flummoxed. They didn't know what to do with minus $16 trillion. some bad things about Obamacare, and I haven't been a big fan of Obamacare, but you know, your government just wants to take care of you. They don't think you're smart enough to make these decisions, okay? So I'm a physician, and when you come in to see me, I put down a little diagnostic code, and there was 18,000 of these. But under Obamacare, they're going to keep you healthier because now there's going to be 140,000 codes. Included among these codes will be 312 new codes for injuries from animals. 72 new codes for injuries just from birds. 9 new codes for injuries from the macaw. The macaw? I've asked physicians all over the country, have you ever seen an injury from a macaw? There's 2 new injury codes under Obamacare for injuries sustained from a turtle. Now you might say, well, turtles can be dangerous, but why do you have to have 2 codes? Well, your doctor needs to inform the government whether you've been struck by a turtle or bitten by a turtle. There is a new code for, I see some alcohol out there, walking into a lamppost. There's also a code for walking into a lamppost, subsequent encounter. I guess that's if you don't learn. There is a code for injury sustained from burning water skis. Your government's just trying to take care of you. Kids communicate these days and they get their news from comedians, from YouTubes. They don't really watch the regular news. So my 16-year-old son, 17-year-old now I think, 17-year-old son sends me a YouTube of Jimmy Kimmel on the street. And Jimmy Kimmel's on the street and he says to a young woman walking down the street, he says, well, you heard the president has pardoned the sequester and he sent it to Portugal. What do you think? And the young lady said, well, you know, the president wouldn't do it if it weren't a good thing. I trust the president. Besides, I think Portugal deserves to have the damn thing. So he went on, he asked some other people, he said, well, what about, I guess you've heard that North Korea's been rattling the saber and North Korea's launched missiles and they're doing these things. Well, you heard the president has sent them the sequester. And so people would come up and they'd say, well, damn right those North Koreans, they deserve it. And they ought to keep the sequester. But seriously, I think we're winning the public relations battle on the sequester. You know, the president thinks, oh, I'll just close down the self-guided tours to the White House. That'll teach them. But the same week he closes down the self-guided tours to the White House, which I'm not sure what the funding mechanism is for self-guided tours to the White House. He closes them down, but he finds $250 million to send to Egypt. In addition to the $2 billion we're already sending to Egypt, in addition to the F-16s we're sending to Egypt, in addition to the Abrams tanks we're sending to Egypt, and I scratch my head and say, he's got all that money, but he can't keep the White House open? The thing is he's playing a game on the American people, and you know what? We're not buying it, Mr. President. $3.8 trillion government, $3.8 trillion, and you can't find money to cut without cutting the air traffic controllers, the meat inspectors, without giving us 3-hour-long line. I want you to raise your hand and say the next time you're at the airport, you will say under your breath a bad word about what he's doing over the sequester, because it infuriates people, and it should infuriate travelers and anybody in the airport that you're being made to be a game here. It's a game to show, oh, the sequester, but it's not working. You know what, Mr. President? It's 2% of the rate of growth of government. Has anybody seen the chart on TV? If we do nothing over 10 years, government grows like this. If we do the sequester, government grows like this. There's not even a white space between the lines. But the president says, woe is me, we could never cut any spending. So I've got a few items for him tonight. We spent $325,000 last year to discover whether a squirrel or whether a rattlesnake will bite a squirrel that's not wagging its tail. They could not find a squirrel to volunteer not to wag its tail in the cage, so they had to build a robotic squirrel. And guess what? The rattlesnake will bite the you-know-what out of a squirrel that's not wagging its tail. $325,000, $500,000 was spent developing a menu for Mars. And this is a great thing. If you've got kids, if you ever have a 26-year-old son or daughter that's living in their basement and you wish they had a job, perfect job for them. $5,000 stipend, all expenses paid trip to Hawaii, and the only prerequisite is you have to like to eat food. So they got a bunch of college students and they went to Hawaii for 2 weeks and they got a menu for Mars. Guess what a bunch of college kids came up with? Pizza! That was some money well spent. We spent $3 million last year on turtle tunnels. This one, I can't help but have the picture in my mind of a sign that says, turtles go under the road, not over the road. Please, turtles, go through the tunnel and not across the road. I'm sure that one's working really well. We spent $1.8 million developing roll-up beef jerky. That came out of the military budget. We spent $5 million in the military budget on studying the collective action of fish. These are just the ones I can remember. There's hundreds of these. Tom Coburn has done a great job looking through all of these and finding these. It is amazing the amount of waste. You could imagine how much waste there is in government. So, Mr. President, if you want to tell us we've got to fire the air traffic controllers, but we're still going to get roll-up beef jerky, we're not going to tolerate it. Now, I got on the Foreign Affairs Committee this year, and so I got to ask Hillary Clinton a few questions. But I didn't get finished, so I've still got a few. We'll hopefully get them relayed through the media to her. First question for Hillary Clinton, where in the hell were the Marines? Now, you know what her answer is? Her answer is, oh, the Marines are to guard the paper. And I said, look, I know a lot of Marines, and I think they can do more than guard paper. She said, well, that's the rule. They're to guard the paper, not the personnel. And I said, well, they don't do that in Baghdad. The point is that Benghazi is a lot more like Baghdad than it is Paris. We did a review board of all of this, and there were a lot of mistakes made maybe at the time, after the time. There's all this, cover up and this and that. But what's always been most important to me is what happened in the 6 months leading up to this. Because there's no excuse in the 6 months leading up to this when your people on the ground, military people and State Department people, are asking for more help. They're asking for security. They're pleading for security, and they got nothing. It was inexcusable. It was a dereliction of duty, and it should preclude her from holding higher office. On May 5th of the year of the attack, they requested a DC-3 plane. This isn't one of our newest planes. I think we can afford a DC-3 plane when it's requested. But to fly people either around the country or to flee if there was a problem. Denied. 3 days later, though, the State Department approved $100,000 for an electrical charging station because they were greening up the embassy in Vienna. Apparently, the ambassador there has electric cars that he's showing off to his European friends, but he found out the plugs weren't working, so he needed $100,000 to bring special plugs over there so he could plug in his electrical cars. So we don't have enough money to let them have a plane. We're saving money, no plane for you, but we spend $100,000 showing off our climate change philosophy for the Western Europeans. We go through the summer and we find out that the State Department also spent $100,000 on 3 comedians that we sent to India on a Make Chai Not War promotional tour. So we don't have money for security, but we have enough money for comedians to go to India. We also found out last summer, during the midst of all this, before the attacks, that the State Department spent $80 million on a consulate in Mashar al-Sharif in the northern part of Afghanistan that will never be occupied. $80 million will never be occupied. Why? Because they got a 10-year lease, built the building, built the embassy, and then they noticed, hey, you know what, guys? There are balconies that look down on our building from all the way around surrounding our building. Maybe this might be a security risk. We're not occupying the building. And then they have the audacity to come to Congress and say, oh, you didn't give us enough money. Well, maybe it would take some leadership to decide how the money is spent.
Yeah.
But what seals the deal on Benghazi is that repeated requests were sent. And she was asked directly by myself and others, did you read the cables? Did you read the request for help? And she said no. She says, I'm busy. I get lots of cables. And I say, look, I don't expect you to read every cable from Bulgaria or Estonia. But I do expect you from one of the 5 most dangerous countries in the world, Libya, to be reading the cables. We got some news from the hearing in the House, and I think it'll go on. I think we'll get more news. And most of that action is probably going to happen in the House. We've requested hearings in the Senate, but we don't control the committee, so it's more likely to happen in the House. The other big issue we have before us is immigration. We may not all in this room agree on exactly what it is. While I respect Senator Grassley and Congressman King, we may not be on the same page, but we may be. But I want to let you know where I am, because I think we have to think through the issue, and there are many ramifications to this. The number one, we do have a problem. The number one reason why we have illegal immigration in this country is people are not using the work visa program. Farmers are bringing in workers. My state has farmers. I think there's a few farmers here, and they are using some of these workers. They're not using the work visa program because it's cumbersome, it's expensive, it's a pain in the you-know-what, and they're just not using it. So about 500,000 people are coming in to pick crops, but only about 65,000 of them are using the work visa program. That's how you're getting more illegal immigration. If you don't fix that problem, and if the bill doesn't fix this problem, then we're going to have another 10 million in another 10 years. So you have to fix the work visa problem. But I'm in favor of trying to fix it. So I am in favor of immigration reform. However, I'm concerned about the bill in some ways that Senator Grassley and Congressman King are. I am concerned that one of the things they do is they actually put a cap on work visas. Currently, the ag visas for work, for people to come in, have no cap. The bill's going to actually put a cap on work visas. It's been some kind of negotiated settlement between the labor unions and the Chamber of Commerce, but it sounds like going in the wrong direction, not the right direction. I'm also with Senator Grassley and Congressman King on the fact that I think we were hoodwinked in '86, we were promised security, and it never came. So I think you do have to have security. So I'm right there with them on it. I am going to try to fix it. I know Senator Grassley introduced some amendments to try to make it better too, and you weren't very successful, were you? We're going to try again on the floor. I have an amendment that's called Trust But Verify. What it says is that instead of giving it to the president and saying, Mr. President, you get to decide, Republican or Democrat, whether the border is secure by reading some report, I say that each year we have things we have to look at, and there is a report generated, but we vote on it. Every year we vote on it, and immigration reform, the process of what we do to go forward, depends on that vote. So it isn't that we just get a promise from the administration, we actually participate and we vote. If I can get something like that, or if they come towards me and they will make border security, there's a chance I could vote for the bill. Am I worried a little bit about it? Yes, I'm worried I might offend some people. I'm also worried that whether it works or not. If it doesn't work, the people who vote for it will catch blame for it. But I don't want to just say I'm voting no and I'm not going to be for it. I do want to try to fix it because I think there is a problem. I also think that as a party, we need to grow bigger and that we need to attract Latino vote. This is a very practical thing, and I'm not ashamed to admit it in front of everybody. We need to attract Latino vote. We need to attract African American vote. It is somewhat of a gateway issue. We have to change the way we are talking about it and who we are if we want to attract Latino vote. And so I say often, and this isn't the legislative solution, but this is what I believe, that we need to treat immigrants with dignity and respect. If you want to work in our country, I want to find a place for you to work. Now, that's not the legislative solution. It has nothing to do with whether we're voting or what kind of documentation, but it is that the people are here, and there is a certain sense of de facto amnesty in that they're not going home. Their kids will be voting, and if their kids think we're hostile to them, they're never going to vote for us. We're an increasingly diverse nation. I think we do need to reach out to other people that don't look like us, don't wear the same clothes, that aren't exactly who we are. We need to reach out. We're going to have to do something. It's the same with the African American population. We do need to reach out. We have a rich history. I think every Republican meeting ought to have something about the history of the Republican Party. It's an amazing history. Now, some criticized me. I went to Howard and they said, oh, I was lecturing to them about how the Republicans formed the NAACP. Well, they may have known that, but a lot of Americans don't know that. That almost every one or virtually many people who started to found the NAACP were Republicans. In my state, in Louisville, in 1930, 99% of the registered black voters were Republicans. 99%. William Worley lived in Louisville, and in 1917, he takes a case all the way to the Supreme Court. It's the most famous case to overturn Jim Crow. The laws passed by the Democrat majority in my state. The same Democrat majority that voted against the 13th Amendment, the 14th Amendment, the 15th Amendment. We have such a great and rich history. We need to talk about it. But then we need to bring it into the present. We need to say, look, the school system is abysmal in our country, and it's really awful, and more awful for those who are stuck in some areas where in Louisville, in the predominantly African-American area, there's a 40% graduation rate from high school. Our head of our education, appointed by Democrats, said, this is academic genocide. We need the party that goes in and says, you know what, to the education establishment, we're going to fix this. We're going to give people school choice, a choice where they go, and scholarships, and a chance to go to the same school our kids go to. And we're going to make education better. And you know what? I think we will get people to consider us as a party, but they won't unless we show up. I went to the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. They were very receptive. Now, did they all register Republican when I left? No. But a lot of them were friendly and said they used to be Republicans, in fact. They're open to us on family issues and traditional marriage, but they're stopped by the one issue. So while we need to do the right thing on immigration, we also need to express something different that may be a misinterpretation of who we are, but we need to express something that attracts people to our party. There's an American painter by the name of Robert Henrein, and he talks about, and he says to people who want to paint, he says, paint like a man coming over a hill singing. I just love the image of that. I think that we need to be the party that proclaims what we stand for like a man coming over a hill singing. When I think of sort of the Von Trapp family, the hills are alive. I also think of, did anybody catch the band that played on the intro? I got them to play that for me. I also think of the Proclaimers. It's a band. And they have a song, we need this kind of passion. We need the passion of Patrick Henry. Give me liberty or give me death. We also need the passion of what young people have and what young people who are in love have. And the song, I love this song. It's like, I will walk 500 miles. And I will walk 500 more just to be the man who walked 1,000 miles to fall down at your door. We will be the dominant national party again when we become the party that's like the man coming over a hill singing. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Senator Paul. Thanks for coming to Iowa. We appreciate hearing from you. and I'm sure we'll be seeing more of you in the future. A couple closing things tonight. I just want to thank you all for coming. It means a lot to the Republican Party to be holding an event in Eastern Iowa. I want you to know that we care about Eastern Iowa, and we're going to fight very hard to win here. And like Senator Paul said, we don't always do enough, and we don't always say enough about our history. We don't talk about how Republicans were the ones who led to give women the right to vote in this country. There are a lot of things that we as Republicans have to do better so that people know all of the great things we have done as a party, and so we can do more great things in the future. I do want to announce a few auction winners as we're closing. You'll need to go to the silent auction item to claim. Rand Paul Time Magazine, Eric Armstrong is the winner. Baseball signed by Rand Grassley King, Andrew Miller. Huckabee signed autograph picture, Loretta Millum. Rand Paul signed Hawkeye jersey, Tracy Kading. Huckabee Rise Above image, Ann Lawrence. And Huckabee framed photo, Andrew Miller. So again, I want to thank you all for coming tonight, and feel free to stick around and visit a while. We wanted to have the event early and get over at a time where you all felt comfortable to stick around, visit. There will still be cocktails for a little while. Thank you.
Website as far as the education thing. It's phenomenal. He was CEO of Line Energy.
Yeah, down in Houston.
Yeah, and I started a nonprofit to advocate for ed reform, but I tell you, you are spot on. That is the way we can broaden the scale of our party. Because the Latino community, it is.
And some of it's more about the attitude and the way we present it than it is the actual thing. Because I'm not sure where I'm going to be on the bill, actually.
Right.
And I want the bill to be stronger, but we have to be more open.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you for being here tonight.
Thank you.
Great to see you.
Thanks.
Paul, I don't know if you remember me, but you came with your dad to Davenport,
Right.
And you were speaking outside the Fairfield. And I came up to you, and I was the one to ask you if you were going to run after your dad finished. I don't know if you remember that or not, but it was, it's been a pleasure. I've been deployed to Manas for the past 6 months.
So you're still active?
I am still active duty as we speak today. I just want to say what a great honor it is to serve for you.
Stay
and
safe.
What you do.
Stay safe.
Can I get a picture with you, sir? Gabe Land, Senator Paul. How you doing? Nice to meet you. Coach there, Bland. Oh, I didn't even know. Randy. Tampa. Okay. And after me, Rick, Tony, and Dusty, we all kind of call podcasts.
Good for you. Give me a side card. Sign up for the website there. This is
mean, of course you did.
But yeah. Actually, other people did.
You got a picture.
Tom.
Hey, let me get a picture. Hey. Senator Whitford.
Thanks for coming out. Sure.
Thank you. We'll hope to see you.
Wonderful. If I could get a picture of that. Thank you, sir. Yeah, thank you. See you. I thought that filibuster was awesome.
Thank you.
What, Patrick, can I get a picture? Yeah, absolutely.
Hey, all right.
Tell your dad I haven't seen him in a while. He's got a party coming up.
Thank you again. I really appreciate it. Thanks for coming out.
Senator, hey, how are you?
I'm a Republican supervisor in Boone County, won a seat after 16 years of all Democrats.
All right, can you
get a picture, please?
Sure. I'm going to make it a little easier. Are you in line for a picture? Yeah.
Hey, how are you? Good to see you.
I work for the senator. Okay.
Get it, Alex?
Take pictures and make the line. Okay. This is your phone? Okay. Yeah, this is your phone. Thank you so much. Your phone? Sorry, I didn't want to go there, but thank you.
Oh, yeah. That's great.
Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you. You're handling this well. 2, 3.
Get a chance to meet the senator over there.
Okay, I think it's good. Thank you very much. Nice to meet you.
Sure.
Okay.
How are you?
Hi. Good.
Good to see you.
Nice to meet you.
All right.
Okay,
How
who's
are you?
next? So you're
Hello.
Good
to meet you.
Stand over there. I'll get this for you, and I'll give you your phone over there. How about that? Ready? 1, 2, 3.
I hope you run for 2016.
All right, thanks. Hey, how are you?
Nice to see you. Good fan?
You gonna do it?
Yeah.
And we look like the big picture.
Hi, how are you? All right.
She said it with that blank expression. Thank you. It's just her.
I just want to say really quick, I think you're the only Republican senator who's doing a good job of attracting young people to my college. No one else will listen.
Senator, if you look for it, their tax automatically includes Obamacare. Because of their tax, inmate to IRS, no Obamacare.
Well, if you send us a Republican senator to replace Harkin, we might have a chance.
You know what? We're going to try like that.
All right, that's a good project.
Thank you.
That,
Yeah, that's good. I'm only 16, man. Yeah, I'm higher.
great.
Thank you for what you're doing out there.
Help these guys get a Republican senator.
Yeah. Quick picture?
Sure.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next.
Hi, how are you? What's that?
I love your back now.
Oh, thank you.
We don't have enough money to buy a house, no pay off before immigrants we have money in books.
Yeah, thanks for coming.
Oh yeah, I want to
Take the lid off. Oh, sorry.
My 4 immigrant children will appreciate the picture and signature. Thank you.
Okay, you want to get together for a picture? 1, 2, 3.
Well, my kids are adopted for Korea, so
Oh, great,
all 4
great.
of them. Thank you.
How about that? I'm learning all the
How are you?
time.
Thank you very much. Enjoyed your speech.
Senator Bowman, go ahead.
Like your speech tonight?
Thank you. You have a pen?
Yes, I do.
Thank you very much. Sure, you're very welcome.
Yeah, that works.
Hey, how are you doing?
Thanks for coming out tonight.
Oh, thank you.
I think you and Cruz should run and nobody beat you guys.
Well, you need to tell him that would be a good idea.
Thank you, buddy. Whose pen was this?
Well, just keep trying to move, and we'll keep as soon as anything we can do. We'll, I think nice to meet you. How are you doing? Hey, good.
That it locks up.
Oh, that's fine.
All right, 1, 2, 3.
All right, great. Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you too. Hi, how are you? Nice to meet you. See you.
Thank you very much.
Great. Nice to see you.
About 5 more minutes.
All right. Hey, how are you?
Coming to Iowa.
Yes, nice to meet you.
What?
Sure. Can you take the cap off? That's all you are. Michael. I don't know if I'm going to get that on there. All right, thank you. Thank you so much. I met John. Hi, how are you?
It's such an honor to meet you.
Well, thanks for coming out.
Could I get your autograph?
Do you have a pen? If you can find a pen, I will. Hey.
I have an ink pen.
How are you? Thanks. Thank you. Yeah, thanks for coming out. Your support on the immigration bill. We need to do something. I think we do too. I want to make it right. Yeah, I think.
You, Senator. Great. Thanks for coming out. Appreciate seeing you. Yeah, it was. Great event.
My wife was inspired. Now I got to fix it.
Sweet, like you were Senator.
Hey, Jonas.
It was Mario.
Thank you.
Hi, how are you? Well, thanks for coming out.
Tell them Joey, lovely to have your sense of humor.
Oh, well, thank you. Thank you. Well, I think Chuck Raslin's pretty funny too.
I'd
isn't
say.
he?
Yes.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a great trip.
Roger Davis.
Hey,
Thank you for coming tonight. Nice to see you. Thank you so much. Bonnie. I'm home with my wife and Ken, so my dad is from a small town in Kentucky as well.
Yeah, I'm Blackberry.
You heard that? Brooksville. County seat of Bracken County.
Yeah, I kind of know.
Thank you.
Hi, how are
Maybe
you?
we'll do some afterwards as well.
Good to see you.
Our target.
All right, stand tall.
You may be a little different from that, but
There we go.
They need to have a box and then stand over. I'm just kidding. What? Sorry, you have a pen?
you might have pictures after that angle, but other than that, no, it's just good.
All right.
Okay, we'll get it done so we can make it get up.
All right.
The farmer, he has to help with the sun.
All right, we'll see you in the
Thanks for
morning.
coming out. Yeah, I think I've got a pen. You want me to sign this?
Yes, please.
All right. Is there any reason you need to Thanks for coming out.
I don't think so.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah. Thank you.
Out here. This way? We're going to take an off hand back door and find a police officer there. And that's probably not necessary. Certainly. You guys get
Okay.
Hey, how are you? Hey, Senator. All right. That's right. All right. I watch your filibuster. It's amazing.
Shove him in his face? Is that how you do it? Pretty much. I hate to be rude, but don't be rude.
Right on the floor. Oh, really? That's
Gary
I hope to see you in Iowa against
Gary Scard, I wanted to ask you something. When you were doing the filibuster, how were you able to be there for 13 hours without going to the bathroom?
Didn't drink any water.
And you're still able to...
Yeah, that is the rate limiting part of it.
Oh yeah, that's unbelievable. Congrats.
press here. My press.
Oh, that's yours. Oh,
That's not one of
give me a shove.
Jonas's.
Right.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your stand.
Yes, thank you.
Congratulations, Senator Paul.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming to Iowa. Congratulations to Louisville and Orb.
There you go. There you go. I should have bet on Orb.
I know it.
That's the problem.
I know it. Like, was it Brady, the quarterback? 25,000.
Is that who? Oh, really? Yeah. I think I bet on the last place horse in every race.
So never let the wind run your race.
Thanks. Thank you.
Thanks for coming out tonight.
Just a few more.
All right, Maura, that's a wrap. We gotta run.
Sign one more, but I gotta
Taking a picture with you?
if you do it really fast.
Dusty. Thank you, Senator. I was the delegate for your father.
Oh, wonderful. Thanks for coming out. Excuse me. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you for...
State senator is thinking about running for her seat, and I hate it. But I love Patriots, and you are a great one.
Make it fun,
appreciate it.
do stuff together, and try. The hard part is we travel so much. I can't have kids at home. It's hard for my wife to come, but it would be less. If you're here tonight, then I don't feel like I have to come.
That's the boat that we're kind of in.
Try to get back home.
Have a good trip. God bless.
Thank you.
I've got a son in Danville. He works in Harrodsburg for Corning.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Yep. It's a good company.
Yep. Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you for all your work. Thank you.
Senator, we are the Citizen College Republicans, and we're wondering if we can get a picture with you.
Okay.
Here, follow us down the hall real quick.
Awesome. Really, really quick.
See you guys.
Senator Rand Paul speaking to the Iowa Republican Party, their fundraiser, their Lincoln Day fundraiser.